Have you ever come across theories so astonishing that they seem like they were pulled straight from a science fiction plot? Some stories lead us to such improbable connections that they make us question to what extent coincidences can be explained merely as works of chance. One of these intriguing stories involves a 19th century book, one of today's most controversial figures, and surprisingly, the possibility of time travel. How could a book published in 1893 predict details about a family that would only become famous more than a century later? And could one of the greatest scientific minds, Nikola Tesla, have left behind a legacy capable of altering the laws of time and space? Is this all merely a series of coincidences, or is there something deeper at play? Welcome to another night where mysteries never sleep. I am Midnight, and this is 7 Nights. Before we dive in, I'd like to ask for your support. Like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's just one click, but it makes a huge difference in helping YouTube share these videos with more people and enabling me to continue bringing this content to you. I'm counting on you. Let's get into the video. In 1893, American lawyer and writer Ingersoll Lockwood published a peculiar children's book titled Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. For decades, the work remained obscure, but it recently gained attention due to mysterious connections with one of the most influential families in the modern world. The book narrates the adventures of a young aristocrat named Baron Trump, a wealthy, curious, and exploratory boy who lives in a castle alongside his family. At first glance, it seems like just another children's story. However, what intrigues readers is the similarity between the protagonist and Baron Trump, the youngest son of Donald Trump. Though the spellings of the names differ, the connection is hard to ignore. The book was written more than a century before Baron's birth, yet the character's name and certain traits raise questions. Baron Trump is described as belonging to a privileged family, leading a life marked by luxury and a sense of being in a world apart. This description, though generic, resonates with the life of the former American president's son, making the coincidence even more intriguing. Tell me, doesn't it feel like the author of this book had a portal to peek into the future? Or are we just trying to make sense of chaos? Another curious detail is Baron Trump's personality. He is portrayed as a brilliant but slightly arrogant youth, always seeking adventures that challenge him and pull him out of monotony. This constant restlessness prompts reflections. Why do certain literary works seem to capture traits that echo in reality? Are these coincidences simply the product of chance? Or are they reflections of universal patterns of humanity that recur across different eras? The title of nobility in the character's name also draws attention. In the book, Baron refers to a fictional aristocracy, but in real life, the Trump surname carries a symbolic weight of power and wealth. This detail reinforces the idea that Lockwood's work, even though fictional, seems to interact with elements that echo in the present. Furthermore, young Baron Trump in the story feels that his life on the surface of the world is incomplete. Guided by a mentor, he decides to explore an unknown underground world. This aspect of the plot sparks speculation about how fiction can sometimes reflect human ambitions to go beyond the obvious and explore the unknown. It could be argued that the desire to escape the comfort zone and seek something greater is a universal theme that transcends generations. Despite its initial obscurity, the book gained relevance with the rise of the Trump family to public prominence. For some, the similarities between the narrative and reality are curious coincidences. For others, they are almost impossible to ignore. How could a 19th century author create a character whose name and social context align with a boy born in 2006? This rediscovery also led researchers and enthusiasts to explore other aspects of Lockwood's work, suggesting that he may have created a narrative that transcends time. Could the author have foreseen something about the future, or was he simply writing stories to entertain young readers of his era? Although these questions remain unanswered, they highlight the power of literature to inspire speculation. The connection between the book and Baron Trump goes beyond the name. The idea of a young adventurer from a powerful family living in properties that can be described as palatial fuels the popular imagination. Properties like Trump Tower and other Trump family mansions are often compared to modern castles, symbols of power and isolation. This reinforces the impression that sometimes reality seems to emulate fiction. Ultimately, a question persists. To what extent are these coincidences merely the result of our tendency to seek patterns? Are we, as readers, connecting dots that were never meant to align? Or is there something deeper in these similarities, something we have yet to fully understand? Regardless of the answer, the mystery surrounding Baron Trump's marvelous underground journey and its connections to the present continues to fascinate and provoke debate. In Baron Trump's marvelous underground journey, the young protagonist resides in a place called Trump Castle, a grand property described as being in a privileged location. Though fictional, this description leads many to think of the luxurious properties of the Trump family, especially the iconic Trump Tower in New York. For some, these comparisons are inevitable. For others, they are merely coincidences. Nevertheless, it's hard to ignore the parallels between Lockwood's narrative and contemporary reality. Baron Trump, the protagonist, leaves the comfort of his castle to embark on a challenging journey filled with mysteries. His mentor on this adventure is a guide named Don, who helps him plan his steps and explore unknown territories. Despite being a secondary character, Don plays a pivotal role, serving as a figure of leadership and wisdom in Baron's quest for something greater. For some modern readers, the name Don is interpreted as a possible reference to Baron Trump's father, Donald Trump. Now, think about it. A rich boy leaving his castle to explore the unknown. Do you think this is a parallel to Baron Trump's life, or am I reading too much into it? It's important to note that the name Don was common during the time the book was written, and Lockwood's choice may have been purely arbitrary. However, Don's central role as Baron's mentor invites reflection. Donald Trump, in real life, is often described as a figure guiding his family and businesses. This similarity, although perhaps unconscious on the author's part, raises questions about fiction's power to capture archetypal patterns that transcend time. The concept of Trump Castle is also noteworthy. In the narrative, the castle is not just a symbol of wealth, but also of isolation. Baron Trump lives in a place with restricted access, surrounded by privileges that separate him from the common world. This element resonates with the public image of the Trump family, whose imposing properties, like Trump Tower, are often seen as symbols of exclusivity and power. More than a coincidence, this parallel reflects a common archetype in narratives about great fortunes, luxury accompanied by a sense of disconnection from the outside world. Baron Trump's journey to seek answers beyond the castle also carries a profound meaning. In the book, this decision is driven by the protagonist's restlessness, as he feels that his comfortable life is insufficient. He yearns for something more significant, a greater purpose. This universal theme, the desire to go beyond the known, transcends generations and resonates with the trajectory of public figures like Donald Trump, who left the business world to venture into politics, a realm full of uncertainties. The relationship between Baron and Don is also rich in symbolism. Don is portrayed as a trustworthy mentor with enough experience to guide Baron through a path filled with challenges. This kind of dynamic, common in hero stories, reinforces the archetype of the mentor, a figure who helps the protagonist face the unknown. In real life, Donald Trump plays a central role in his family's narrative, both as a leader and as a dominant influence. This makes some see Don and Donald as reflections of the same pattern, even if the resemblance is ultimately coincidental. Another fascinating aspect of the book is the idea of underground exploration. By following Don to discover a world beneath the surface, Baron symbolizes humanity's curiosity to uncover hidden secrets and push the boundaries of what is known. This metaphor can be interpreted in various ways, from a quest for self-knowledge to a desire to explore the power hidden behind appearances. In reality, Donald Trump is often associated with movements that challenge the status quo, whether in politics, business, or media. The starting point of Baron's journey, the castle, holds an interesting significance. While the castle represents safety and privilege, it also symbolizes limits. Baron only discovers his true potential when he steps out of his comfort zone. This narrative connects with how the Trump Tower and other Trump family properties are viewed, as fortresses that, while representing power, also mark the boundaries of the external world. This dichotomy between comfort and challenge is one of the hallmarks of many heroes' narrative arcs, including young barons. Lockwood's choice to use Trump Castle as the main setting raises questions. Did he draw inspiration from something of his time, or was it simply a symbolic choice to represent aristocracy and privilege? Although there are no records linking the author to specific properties, using the castle as a symbol reflects a recurring theme in Victorian literature: the contrast between isolation and discovery. This narrative choice, even if unintentional, ends up aligning surprisingly with the contemporary image of the Trump family. And what about Dawn? Did Lockwood deliberately choose the name, or was it just another casual choice? Regardless, the fact that Dawn serves as Barron's guide and mentor, helping him navigate dangerous territories, adds layers of complexity to the narrative. In the real world, Donald Trump also occupies a central position in narratives of influence, polarization, and leadership. Even though there's no direct evidence of a connection between the book and reality, it's undeniable that these similarities spark debates. In the end, the question remains, how far can these comparisons be taken before they cross the line of plausibility? The description of Trump Castle and Dawn's role in Barron's journey provide rich material for speculation, but also remind us that fiction often reflects universal archetypes. Perhaps it's this ability to resonate with reality that makes Lockwood's work so fascinating. Three years after the publication of Barron Trump's marvelous underground journey, Ingersoll Lockwood released another intriguing work, The Last President. Published in 1896, the book narrates the unexpected rise of a wealthy man from New York to the presidency of the United States. Though it is a political fiction, many see striking parallels with events that occurred over a century later, particularly during Donald Trump's trajectory. Early in the work, the protagonist is described as a business magnate residing at a specific address, 5th Avenue, New York. This description piqued curiosity because Trump Tower, one of the Trump family's most iconic properties, is also located on 5th Avenue. The coincidence between the fictional address and the real location of the building is one of the most debated details. Could this have been a random choice by Lockwood, or does it transcend mere fiction? Beyond the address, the impact of the protagonist's election on society in the book is another point of discussion. His victory causes outrage and mass protests, with particularly intense demonstrations from those who never believed he could win. Wait, does anyone else feel like this description is a flashback to 2016? Or am I overreacting? What do you think? This atmosphere of division and social tension described by Lockwood echoes the events that marked Donald Trump's 2016 election, when the result generated polarized reactions worldwide. These similarities heighten the fascination with the book and raise questions. To what extent can fiction predict patterns of human behavior? As the plot unfolds, the protagonist assembles a team for his administration. Among the names mentioned is Lafe Pence, who serves as Secretary of Agriculture. This reference caught attention for its resemblance to the name of Mike Pence, the former Vice President of the United States during Donald Trump's administration. While the roles of Lafe and Mike differ, the similarity of their names and the political context in which they appear fuel speculation. How could a 19th century author anticipate, even accidentally, a name that would gain prominence in politics over 100 years later? Another intriguing detail is the title of the work, The Last President. In the story, the title seems to symbolize a break from the traditional model of government, suggesting that the protagonist's term would bring changes so profound that they would mark the end of an era. This idea of political and social transformation resonates with contemporary debates about the impact of Donald Trump's leadership, particularly regarding political polarization and changes in power structures in the United States. While many draw parallels between the book and reality, it is essential to consider the historical context in which Lockwood wrote his work. In 1896, the United States was undergoing significant transformation, with industrial advancements and growing social tensions. The rise of great fortunes and the ascendancy of powerful families sparked debates about inequality and political influence, issues that, while specific to that era, still resonate today. Perhaps Lockwood was merely reflecting the challenges of his society, without imagining that his fiction would become the subject of such specific interpretations in the future. The connection between The Last President and Barron Trump's marvelous underground journey also deserves attention. While the first book explores the adventures of a young aristocrat seeking something beyond the comfort of his privileged life, the second seems to address the consequences of ambition and power in the political context. This thematic progression suggests that Lockwood was interested in larger questions about leadership and its implications, creating narratives that engage with human archetypes. Another fascinating point is Lockwood's writing style, which uses real locations and specific names to construct his stories. This approach gives a tone of verisimilitude to the narrative, which may explain why so many modern readers find parallels between fiction and reality. For instance, The inclusion of Fifth Avenue as the protagonist's residence may have been a strategic choice to anchor the plot in a recognizable setting. But what about names like Lafe Pence? Were they coincidences or choices driven by subconscious patterns that transcend time? The mystery surrounding the author himself also contributes to the fascination with his works. Little is known about Ingersoll Lockwood's life beyond his career as a lawyer and writer. His ability to create stories that remain relevant decades later suggests a profound understanding of universal themes such as power, inequality, and social tensions. These intrinsically human issues explain why his works still provoke intense discussions today. The reception of The Last President during its time was limited, with the work falling into obscurity until it was rediscovered in the 21st century. This rediscovery occurred at a time of intense political polarization and the rise of conspiracy theories on the internet, amplifying comparisons between Lockwood's fiction and reality. But to what extent are these connections legitimate? Are we projecting our narratives onto the text, or is there something truly visionary in Lockwood's work? Regardless of the answer, the cultural impact of The Last President is undeniable. The book reminds us that fiction, by capturing the fears and aspirations of its time, can transcend generations, offering interpretations beyond what the author originally conceived. In Lockwood's case, his stories continue to spark imagination and challenge the boundaries between coincidence and intention. Finally, the question remains, are we connecting dots arbitrarily, guided by our search for patterns? Or is there something deeper, something only time and a closer look can reveal? What is clear is that, more than a century after its publication, The Last President remains a literary enigma that resonates with social and political issues still relevant today. In Ingersoll Lockwood's The Last President, one detail that draws curiosity is the presence of a character named Lafe Pence, the Secretary of Agriculture in the protagonist's administration. At first glance, the name might seem like an arbitrary choice. However, the similarity to Mike Pence, former Vice President of the United States during Donald Trump's administration, has generated numerous discussions. After all, how could a book written in 1896 contain a name so close to that of someone who would hold an important position over a century later? It's true that the surname Pence was not uncommon in the 19th century, especially in the United States. However, the context in which it appears and the role Lafe plays in the narrative spark reflection. The character is described as a trusted man of the president, playing a significant role in administrative decisions, particularly regarding agriculture. Mike Pence, in real life, held a prominent position in government as vice president, and his relationship with Donald Trump was marked by a dynamic of political support, albeit occasionally fraught with tension. While the roles of Lafe Pence and Mike Pence are not identical, the similarity of their names and political contexts raises questions. Did Lockwood capture some recurring pattern in leadership figures that transcends history? Or was the choice of names simply a coincidence? It's difficult to say, but the coincidence certainly provokes the imagination. Another noteworthy detail is Lafe's title as Secretary of Agriculture. During Donald Trump's presidency, agriculture was also a significant topic of discussion, particularly concerning trade tariffs and economic policies that affected U.S. farmers. While Mike Pence's role was not directly related to these issues, Lafe Pence's presence in Lockwood's narrative seems to resonate with concerns that marked the contemporary period. The relationship between Lafe Pence and the fictional president also arouses curiosity. Lafe is portrayed as someone who shares the leader's vision and goals, acting as a reliable ally. This dynamic somewhat mirrors the partnership between Mike Pence and Donald Trump, particularly in the administration's early years. The two worked together on initiatives that sought to consolidate the administration's political priorities, even as they faced internal and external challenges. Lockwood's choice of the name Lafe adds an extra layer of mystery. Unlike Pence, which was a common surname, Lafe was not as frequent, especially in the 19th century. At the time, Lafe was often used as a shortened form of Lafayette, a name associated with the French revolutionary hero Marquis de Lafayette. Could Lockwood have intentionally evoked the idea of heroism or leadership? Or was the name chosen without deeper intentions? The lack of records about Lockwood's creative process leaves these questions unanswered, but they continue to intrigue. Another relevant question is the context in which the book was written. In 1896, the United States was undergoing significant changes. The Industrial Revolution was in full swing, great fortunes were shaping society, and issues of inequality and power were recurring themes. In this setting, it is possible that Lockwood used Lafe Pence as a reflection of political figures or presidential allies of his time, without imagining that his name would be reinterpreted over a century later. Moreover, the modern impact of the internet contributed to amplifying these coincidences. The name Lafe Pence, which might have gone unnoticed on its own, was rediscovered in a context of intense political polarization and interest in conspiracy theories. This rediscovery leads us to question, are we seeing connections where none exist, guided by our tendency to search for patterns? Or did Lockwood, perhaps unconsciously, capture something that transcends time? And what about you? Do you think we're forcing these connections, or is there something here that really makes you think? The relationship between Lafe Pence and Mike Pence can also be viewed through the lens of political archetypes. Figures like Lafe, who act as allies to leaders, are common in literary narratives and political history. The repetition of this pattern over time reinforces the idea that certain power dynamics are universal, regardless of the historical period in which they occur. Interestingly, despite the similarity of the names, Lockwood does not provide many details about Lafe Pence's personality or actions in the book. This opens the door for modern interpretations, allowing readers to connect the character to present-day figures. This narrative gap may have been a deliberate choice by the author, who preferred to focus on the protagonist and his journey, leaving the supporting characters as more symbolic representations of power and influence. Another intriguing point is how Lockwood's fiction continues to remain relevant and captivating. Lafe Pence's presence in The Last President is an example of how seemingly simple elements of a story can gain new meanings when reinterpreted in light of future events. This ability to resonate across different eras is what makes Lockwood's work so fascinating. Finally, the question remains, was Lafe Pence just a random choice by Lockwood, or is there something more behind this similarity to Mike Pence? There is no concrete evidence connecting the two, but the coincidence of names and contexts raises hypotheses that continue to be explored. Regardless of the author's intentions, the figure of Lafe Pence has become a focal point in discussions about the book, showing how fiction can transcend time and generate unexpected interpretations. Nikola Tesla is widely recognized as one of the greatest inventors in history, responsible for innovations that shaped the modern world. His contributions to the development of alternating current, energy transmission systems, and wireless technology placed him far ahead of his time. However, there is another side of Tesla that sparks curiosity and fuels theories. His experiments that supposedly pushed the boundaries of possibility, including the creation of a time machine. Although he never officially built a device for time travel, Tesla often spoke about manipulating time and space. In writings attributed to him, Tesla discussed the idea that time is a form of energy that can be controlled. He believed that by better understanding the workings of the universe, it would be possible to break the barriers of time and space, allowing humans to travel freely across different periods. These ideas, though speculative, raise a fascinating question. Did Tesla achieve advances that were never revealed? Tesla was known for his visionary mind, but also for being a reserved and often misunderstood man. Some of his boldest projects were considered fantastical by his contemporaries, yet many of his daydreams proved possible over time. For example, Tesla predicted the creation of global communication networks and mobile devices, concepts that only became reality in the 20th century. To what extent could his vision of time have been based on scientific principles that we still do not fully understand? After Tesla's death in 1943, his notes and projects were confiscated by the United States government. The official reason was to ensure that none of his discoveries could be used by other nations during World War II. Among the documents, it is speculated that there were studies on high-frequency energy, invisibility, and even time manipulation. While the details were never fully disclosed, the seizure of these materials added to the mystery surrounding his most radical ideas. A curious fact is that the government entrusted the analysis of these documents to John George Trump, a renowned electrical engineer and the uncle of Donald Trump. John Trump publicly stated that Tesla's papers contained nothing revolutionary, but this declaration is frequently questioned. After all, why would the government rush to confiscate Tesla's documents if they contained nothing significant? Could some of his discoveries have been so advanced that they needed to be kept secret? For proponents of conspiracy theories, John Trump may have found something in Tesla's documents that would change our understanding of reality. Some believe he developed prototypes based on the inventor's ideas, and that these projects were passed down within the Trump family. This hypothesis, though lacking concrete evidence, is often cited as a possible link between Tesla and Donald Trump's alleged abilities to predict or even alter the course of events. Tesla's work with high-frequency energy is one of the aspects that most intrigues theorists. He believed that high-energy waves could create fields that affect space-time. This aligns with modern physics concepts, such as Einstein's theory of relativity, which suggests that large concentrations of energy can distort time. Could Tesla have advanced in this field long before his contemporaries? And if so, did he develop experiments to prove his theories? Another element that fuels speculation is Tesla's alleged involvement in classified experiments, such as the infamous Philadelphia experiment. While there is no definitive proof that Tesla participated in this project, the legend claims that he worked on technologies involving invisibility and teleportation, both with implications for space-time manipulation. Even though this story is widely considered fictional, it reinforces the idea that Tesla was at the center of debates about science and possibilities beyond the imaginable. However, it is important to consider that Tesla was also a man of limitations. Many of his projects were never completed, and some remained only on paper. His statements about time and space, though fascinating, may have been more philosophical than practical. Nonetheless, this does not diminish the impact of his vision, as he inspired generations of scientists to explore concepts that once seemed like science fiction. The connection between Tesla and Donald Trump, mediated by John Trump, continues to intrigue theorists and curious minds alike. What exactly did John Trump find in Tesla's documents? And if he truly developed something revolutionary, were these discoveries kept secret? While these questions remain unanswered, the mere fact that John Trump had access to these documents is enough to keep the flame of mystery alive. Another relevant aspect is the public's fascination with Tesla. Even decades after his death, he remains an iconic figure, surrounded by a mix of admiration and mystery. His ideas about time and space challenge our understanding, and his personal life, filled with highs and lows, adds an almost mythical layer to his story. Was Tesla simply a brilliant inventor, or was there something in his mind that placed him beyond his time? Although modern science has advanced significantly since Tesla's era, his theories still raise fundamental questions about the universe. Do we truly understand time as it is? And if Tesla was correct about its malleable nature, what would that mean for humanity? These are the kinds of questions that keep his story alive and relevant today. There's no denying that Tesla paved the way for thinking about the impossible. His connection to John Trump, and by extension to Donald Trump, may be just a curious detail, but it could also be a piece of a larger puzzle that we do not yet comprehend. The idea that Tesla left behind something beyond his time, literally, is a theory that continues to captivate the imagination of many. Following Nikola Tesla's death on January 7, 1943, his documents and notes became the focus of great interest by the United States government. Tesla, known for his visionary genius, dedicated his life to exploring concepts that defied traditional physics. Fearing that his discoveries could be utilized by enemy powers during World War II, the government ordered that all of Tesla's materials be confiscated by the National Defense Research Committee. The task of analyzing these documents was assigned to John George Trump, a renowned electrical engineer, MIT professor, and uncle of Donald Trump. John Trump was widely respected for his work in advanced technologies, particularly in high-voltage radiation. His involvement in examining Tesla's notes was justified by his expertise, but the fact that he is a familial connection to one of the 21st century's most controversial figures added new dimensions to this episode. In his official report, John Trump stated that Tesla's papers contained nothing of practical or revolutionary value. He described the inventor's works as speculative, dismissing the possibility of any functional technological breakthrough. However, for many theorists, this statement raises doubts. If Tesla's notes were so innocuous, why did the government take such drastic measures to confiscate and safeguard these documents? One of the most debated speculations is the hypothesis that John Trump discovered something so advanced that he chose to keep these findings a secret. Throughout his life, Tesla explored concepts that went beyond the limits of the science of his time, including wireless energy transmission, high-power weapons, and space-time manipulation. While none of these theories were ever proven, the mere fact that Tesla recorded such ideas raises questions about what exactly was contained in his notes. One of the most intriguing themes associated with Tesla is his vision of time. He believed that time and space were interconnected and could be manipulated with the correct energy. These ideas, which echo modern relativity concepts, lead some to suggest that Tesla might have developed pioneering theories about time travel or related technologies. If John Trump truly had access to such ideas, could he have chosen not to disclose them to protect strategic interests? The political and military context of the time also deserves consideration. In 1943, the United States was deeply involved in World War II, a period of technological race that included the Manhattan Project. If Tesla had indeed advanced revolutionary concepts, his discoveries could have been deemed too sensitive to be made public. It is possible that John Trump was instructed to downplay the importance of the documents to avoid speculation or international disputes. Another point of debate is the relationship between John Trump and his nephew Donald Trump. Although there is no concrete evidence that any technology or ideas from Tesla were passed on to Donald, theorists suggest that John could have shared information or concepts with his family. Donald Trump, for his part, often spoke admiringly of his uncle, referring to him as a brilliant man and stating that he knew things that few could imagine. These statements, though possibly exaggerated, fuel curiosity about what John Trump really found in Tesla's papers. Moreover, Tesla's enigmatic personality adds to the mystery. Tesla was known for being reserved and often cryptic, keeping some of his boldest ideas out of the public's reach. He frequently suggested that his inventions were far beyond what his contemporaries could comprehend. This attitude, combined with the government's seizure of his documents, gives rise to theories that part of his work remains hidden. John Trump, on the other hand, was a pragmatic scientist with solid credibility. He made significant contributions to fields like radiotherapy and X-ray equipment, technologies still widely used today. This raises the question, if Tesla had truly made extraordinary advances, wouldn't John Trump have been the ideal person to understand and develop these ideas? His technical skills and access to resources certainly positioned him to explore any revolutionary concepts that might have been contained in the documents. Another interesting aspect is how John Trump, despite his importance, remained a relatively low-profile figure in popular history. For someone who had access to the works of one of the greatest inventors of all time, his limited presence in public debates about Tesla seems, at the very least, curious. This fuels speculation that he may have played a more significant role than was officially disclosed. Tesla's impact, even decades after his death, continues to capture the imagination. His ideas about energy, time, and space challenged the boundaries of traditional science, while his personal and professional life was marked by mysteries and contradictions. The connection between Tesla and John Trump, mediated by historical circumstances, adds yet another layer of complexity to this narrative. The possibility that John Trump discovered something extraordinary in Tesla's notes remains without definitive answers. Official records dismiss any significant breakthroughs, but the lack of transparency and the silence surrounding the episode fuel theories that blend science, mystery, and history. Regardless of the veracity of these speculations, Tesla's legacy and his connection to figures like John Trump demonstrate how great ideas can transcend time, inspiring debates and imagination even today. The true extent of Tesla's discoveries and what really happened to his documents may never be fully known. But the fascination with his genius and impact continues to grow, reinforcing his status as one of the most enigmatic figures in modern science. The connections between Nikola Tesla, John Trump, and Donald Trump raise fascinating questions at the intersection of science, history, and imagination. While most of these stories are based on theories and coincidences, their impact on the collective imagination is undeniable. Whether through old books that seem to predict contemporary events, or the mysteries surrounding Tesla's inventions and John Trump's role in analyzing his notes, each piece of this puzzle continues to spark debates and reflections. We may never know the full truth. What is certain, however, is that these stories remind us that the past and the future are often intertwined in ways we cannot fully explain. If there is one thing these connections teach us, it is that the power of curiosity and speculation allows us to explore horizons beyond the obvious. Coincidence or not, every detail is an invitation to look closer, always seeking answers amid the mystery. This story is just one piece, and someday, we might see the whole puzzle. If this made you think, subscribe and hit the like button. It helps the channel grow. Don't forget to share, because more voices mean more discoveries.